Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'll be going through everything that I'm growing in my 2026 garden, including veggies, fruits, herbs, in raised beds, in containers, going through everything that's part of my plan this year. If you're looking for inspiration for your own garden or just like to see what everybody else is growing, this one's for you. Let's jump in. I'm going to start with the herbs on the deck. I usually grow herbs in a multitude of containers on my deck, which is just off of the kitchen. It's easy to get to. I use a lot of herbs in cooking, so that makes the most sense for me in terms of placement. And let's start with, I have a bunch of, all my seed packets are laid out in front of me, like I've got them all here. And what I'm gonna do, some of them I don't have seed packets for because I seeded them a while ago in the container and then they self-seed like chamomile. Actually, I do have the chamomile here somewhere, but it comes back every year. So I don't seed it every year. I just let it come back and just regrow it in the same pot that it's been growing in since the beginning. But this is my chamomile. It's Bodegold chamomile. And I've been growing this for years, many years. And I like to dry it for tea. So this is one that I'll be growing for sure. I also grow mint and lemon balm. Mint, it's called menthol mint, but it's any kind of peppermint, that type of mint that I grow to dry the leaves to make herbal tea. And same thing with lemon balm. Now I ran out of seeds of lemon balm, so I just ended up picking this up probably at the supermarket or a garden center, it doesn't matter. So lemon balm, those are the three things that I grow every year in containers on the deck. Just to dry them for tea. I do use, and I'll be honest, I use the mint for cocktails too. That's between you and I. But why not? But the other two, the lemon balm and the chamomile, I generally just grow to dry it for tea. I'm also growing flat leaf parsley, which I do every year. Now, I'm holding up this packet. This isn't actually what I grow. I actually grew some for seeds, and let me show you. I keep them in little Ziploc bags. Now, funny thing that happened last year. Okay, so I've got two little bags of seeds. You would think I mistakenly took this for dill, but it's actually parsley. Parsley blooms that I harvested the second year my parsley plant was growing, and I assumed this was dill, but it's not. These were my dill seeds, and I completely mixed them up, and I ended up growing 2 big batches of parsley last year. Regardless, I'm going to be growing parsley from my own seeds, flat leaf parsley, and then dill from my plants. But I think I'm going to have to make a note of which one is which, so that I don't make that mistake again. We had a lot of parsley last year, but you know what? It's not a bad problem to have. All right, so that was parsley, dill, chamomile, mint, lemon balm. Let me just get these in order here so I don't mix them up. Okay, Genovese basil, also grow that every year. It's good in fresh cooking. It's good in pesto. That's pretty much a standard in the garden. I'll probably grow 2 pots of that. I put 3 plants in each pot. I've got pretty large size containers out there. So a lot of Genovese basil. I'm gonna do the Thai basil again this year. Last year, I grew it. It grew beautifully. I didn't harvest it. I don't know why. I wanted to make one of my favorite dishes, which is Thai basil fried rice. And I just never did it. Shame on me, because it was a beautiful plant. It did amazing. But note to self, remember, you're not just growing plants. You're supposed to harvest it and eat it. And then I'm going to grow oregano. At our last house, we had like a little border hedge around our old pergola that had oregano plants interspersed with lavender. And I used to just go out there and snip the oregano if I wanted it to make anything. And I missed that this year. So I'm going to be growing oregano on the deck. And I think that's it for the herbs. Yes. Okay, let's move on to, so the only thing I grow on my back deck are herbs. Everything else is in raised beds. We have 14 raised beds, 4 of which are dedicated to fruit. So we have blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries. Those are all going to stay there. They're perennial. They're coming back next year. So that's already good to go. I'm growing carrots. Last year I grew little finger carrots, which are like the tiny little ones. This year I'm growing two different kinds. One is the mokum, which I've grown before very successfully. So I'm going to do some of these. And these are a little bit larger than the little finger. They grow to about, I'm reading it off the back here. I don't know if it says it on here. They're usually about 8 to 10 inches if I recall. Anywho, so these are the mokum carrots. And then I'm doing a new one for me called Negovia. And they're a little bit larger. I think these were these 8 to 10? Or maybe these were 6 to 8 and they grow to a uniform 7.5 to 8 inch. So this is 8 inch, this is 8 to 10. Just to try two different kinds of carrots in the raised beds this year. And I'm excited about that. That's carrots. We're doing, I'm still doing the turnips. Pardon my messy seed packet. They get a little messy when I carry them around seeding in the garden. This is the purple top white globe turnip. We love turnips. I like to make those pink turnip pickles. They did so last year, but I'm going to put a little star next to everything I'm saying because I had a soil issue last year in the new beds. This year should be fine, but I'm planning on growing these again just to see how they do. And after my disaster of a radish harvest last year, I'm determined. I'm growing them again, just out of spite. So that's going to be fun. I'm also growing green onions, so Parade. Again, pardon the messy seed packets here. These are Parade green onions. I like to harvest a bunch of those every year, just so that by the end of the season, I just harvest everything, slice them all up, and then put them in a Ziploc bag and pop them into the freezer so that I have them year round. They thaw really quickly, so you don't even have to thaw them. You just open up the bag, grab a handful, throw it in whatever it is that you're making, and you're good to go. So that's this year. Tomatoes, I grow primarily cherry tomatoes, and I'm doing that again this year. The two that I always grow are the Sun Sugar and the Super Sweet 100. So I'm doing that again this year. I have a bed. It's a 2x8. I can fit 16 plants in there. If you follow the square foot gardening method, it's typically one plant per square foot. Keep them, pruned and trimmed and whatnot. And I usually do about 14 cherry tomatoes and 1 or 2 of something else. So last year was not a good tomato harvest for me, but I'm persevering. I'm still going to grow those tomatoes. Probably only those 2 varieties, and I've got one buffalo steak. So this is new for me. I'm going to try growing these as well alongside my cherry tomatoes, just to try something new. I like to try a few new things every year just to keep it fun, keep it interesting. So that's the tomato plan. I'm also going to grow cucumbers. I haven't grown cucumbers probably since the first couple of years that I had a raised bed in terms of gardening. And we liked them, but then real estate became a bit of an issue. So I didn't want it to grow anything that took up too much space, but not anymore. I have plenty of space now. So we're going to start with cucumbers again. We have a Summer Dance, which is about 9 to 12 inch cucumbers. So that'll be interesting. And then this is a Slice More hybrid. And this is about 8.5 inches long. So we'll see how that goes. Excited about that too. Again, something new for me. I don't have a lot of experience with cucumbers, so we'll see how it goes. I talked about that. Okay. I am going to try growing these babies again. If you've been following along, I'm determined to grow cantaloupe in my garden. We'll see how successful it is. I've been trying to grow cantaloupe for about, 3-4 years now with limited success. I think we've gotten maybe 1 or 2 little tiny melons, and then with last year's soil issue, I think that was just wishful thinking on my part. But I'm going to try again. Not in a whole bed. I'm just going to do it in like 4 square feet. See what happens, but we'll see. All right. And then, let's do these first. So I'm going to be doing pole beans. Now, pardon the messiness. See my little pole beans here? There's even some soil in there, but don't mind that. These are the ones I harvested from dried pods in this year's garden. So I'll be using those next year. I also have some in this little packet, which was from 2 years ago, which should still be good. And here you can see them in here. See them in there. And this isn't the packet. I just kept the packet because it said Blue Lake on it so that I know what it is. So last year I grew Scarlet Runner and Blue Lake. And although the Scarlet Runner, it was beautiful seeing those red blooms out in the garden, the Blue Lake did a lot better, as they have typically done. I usually grow either all Blue Lake or Blue Lake and something else just for some variety. I've tried some yellow beans. I've tried the Kentucky Wonder. I've tried Contender. I've tried all kinds. But the Blue Lake is always the best performer. So I think I'm just gonna, grow all Blue Lake next year until the craving for something new strikes, and then I'll grow Blue Lake and whatever else that is. But next year, all Blue Lake, just to make sure that I get a good harvest of beans. And then I have been growing these. I'm opening the bag because it's a huge bag. This is my bag full of sugar snap peas. There's tons in here. This has lasted me at least 3 years now. So I'm on year 4. It should be fine. Everything came up fine last year. It's the Super Sugar Snap Pea. So I'll be growing these for sure because they always do well. And they're really tall. So they're about, I'm trying to think based on my raised beds, are about 17 inches high. They're at least 7 feet. Well, probably 6 feet if you're planting in the ground, but they're really tall. They need a tall trellis, but they do really well. Okay, I think we're left with greens. I think so. Okay, we are going to do, let me start with, these are all the lettuces. Let's start with, well, I'm doing bok choy. We're gonna do bok choy. This is the Joy Choy variety, bok choy. Love it. I love to either slice it really, really fine, throw it in a stir fry, leave it in chunks. You can eat it raw, you can eat it cooked, super versatile, easy to grow. So we're gonna be doing that. I'm gonna be doing arugula. I feel bad for my messy seed packets, but it's the life of a gardener, isn't it? So we'll be doing arugula again. That's always good. One of my new favorites is this Grand Rapids. It's this light green, bright green, frilly lettuce. It was so good, and it looks great in the garden, but it actually tastes really good and grows really well. So we're going to be doing that again this year. We're going to be doing butter crunch again. Always good. This is a perfect lettuce for if you want just like a leaf to put on a burger, or if you want, it's great in salads. It's just great. Grows well, grows nice, beautiful heads. I usually do the cut and come again, especially early in the season, where you just cut off the outer leaves and let the rest of it keep growing over the course of the season. That way you just have a constant supply of lettuce, which is awesome. I usually do that with the butter crunch. And then I'm going to be doing corn salad. This one is called Vit Organic. It's a very small head. It does small little leaves. This was really good too. So we're going to be doing that again. And is there anything else? The rest are new this year. So last year, I was looking for a green that I can grow over the summer. Usually lettuce, once it gets really warm, it bolts really quickly. So I was trying to find something that grew well over the summer months when it gets really hot so that it doesn't bolt. So what I'm trying this year, oh, well, this one is actually a regular lettuce. It's a lettuce. It's a mini romaine called Xanadu. I've grown romaine before. Love it. I ran out of seeds. I think I only have like 2 seeds left in that packet. So I got another type just to try to see what this is going to be like. And we'll see. So that's the lettuce. So in terms of this quest to find something that grows over the summer months, I have 3. I've got kale, red Russian kale, which technically I'm going to grow in the spring, summer, and fall just to see how it does in all of those seasons. So we have that. We have mustard greens. This is another one. I've never grown mustard greens before. And this one is called Green Wave. So we're going to see how that goes, how it does. I'm growing it also spring, summer, fall, 3 different sowings. So we'll see how it goes in the different seasons. And then collards. This one takes a little bit longer to mature, but I'm also growing it spring, summer, fall, just to see. So I'm basically trying to find a green or something of that nature that just does well throughout the season. Because usually we have this gap in the middle of the heat of summer where we don't have a lot of lettuce. I don't like buying lettuce at the store if I can grow it myself, but there's that dilemma of when it's really, really hot, lettuce isn't happy. But it is what it is. So the only other thing I am growing are flowers. So two things. One are marigolds. These are things that these are flowers that I grow and just tuck a plant in, one in each of my raised beds for pest deterrence. And that works well. And they're pretty, little pops of color throughout the garden, which is nice. And I'm going to be doing the forget-me-nots again this year. I had sown some directly in the landscape last year, did not come up, but I think that's my fault for not preparing the ground properly. I just kind of roughed it up, threw them in, and hoped for the best. I know, guys, don't. It's my fault. So I'm trying again. I'm probably going to start them inside this year and then transplant the seedlings out, which will probably give me better success, to be honest. And then if you'll remember, last year I had sowed lupin seeds directly outside last August. They grew into tiny little plants. They died back, which is fine in the fall, the winter. And I'm hoping that they're going to come back next year and bloom. In theory, they should bloom. However, if they do not, I'll be sowing another batch this year in the same areas. I have two little flower beds on each side of the house. And I'm going to be sowing these again. So I've got these ready to go. I'm determined to have lupins on the property because I just find them so beautiful. And I think that is the plan. I've already worked out, how many seed trays, when am I starting what, and all of that stuff. So I'm pretty much done on that front. I'll put up, I'll put up a link to the previous video I did about planning a garden because I followed all of the steps essentially that I outlined in that video. Basically, short form, take stock of everything that you already have in terms of seeds. What do you have left? What do you want to grow? Determine what it is you want to grow. Obviously grow things that you like. If there's no sense in growing something if you or your family doesn't eat it. And then, gather all your supplies, figure out where you're going to be growing everything. And if you're a succession gardener like I am, which is you plan to grow something in the spring in this raised bed, and then you have to have something ready to plant. Once this harvest is done, you get it out of the raised bed, you put something else in its place. So I've done pretty much all of that planning already, so I know where everything's going to go. Make sure I have all the equipment, the trellises and whatnot. And then now it's just waiting. Now it's waiting until it's time to start the seeds, which my indoor seed starting is March 1st this year. So I'm just making sure that I have everything ready to go. We're in mid-January. So now it's just a waiting game, making sure that everything is good to go, ready to go. And the excitement builds. I love doing this planning stuff over the Christmas break, over the winter when you can't really grow anything unless you're growing something indoors. So I like to do all this planning when it's snowy or cold or gloomy after the holidays are over, because it builds up the excitement for the upcoming season. Anyway, I think I've covered everything. I'm looking around in case I forgot any of my packets, but I think we've covered everything. So I'm excited. I'm excited about. I didn't talk about our fruit trees. We have 8 fruit trees at the far end of our garden. We've got 2 pear, 2 apple, 1 plum, 1 grafted plum, which has 4 varieties on it, and then a nectarine and a peach. The only one that produced fruit that we were able to harvest and eat ourselves was the peach tree, and it did well. The fruits were small, but they were really, really good. We had to replace 1 plum and the nectarine. They didn't make it through the winter last winter, so we replaced them last spring. I think it was spring. And we replaced the nectarine with a different variety of nectarine, and we replaced the plum with this grafted variety, which has 4 different types of plum on it, which I'm really excited to see. I can't wait to see the blooms, what that's going to look like. Is it going to produce? I have no idea. One of our apple trees did produce a fruit, but a critter got to the 1 apple that grew. But at least I know that it can produce, which is good. And I'm hopeful for the other apple and the 2 pear and the other plum that did survive to see what's going to happen this year. But they're young trees. It's going to take a minute for them to actually produce anything in terms of volume, but everybody's still alive. Everybody did okay. So now it's just a matter of waiting to see what happens this year. So in terms of fruit, it's basically our little mini orchard, our 8 fruit trees and the berries, and hopefully this cantaloupe. We'll see. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. I've had so much like not even mixed success. I have not been successful growing cantaloupe, but I'm determined. But at least I'm doing it in a small portion of one raised bed, so it's not going to take up too much space. And I just keep considering it a learning experiment just to see if I can get it to actually grow. But it's all good. And that's pretty much it. I think I covered everything. And I'll link to the video down below of the full planning with the spreadsheets and everything. I didn't want to make another video of that this year because it is a little tedious if you're not into spreadsheets and planning. But for those of you who do enjoy that type of thing, I'll link it below because it's a pretty detailed video. It's a lot of fun. All right, everybody, I wish you all the best in the new year. And I hope you're in planning mode as I am, and thinking ahead to what you're going to be growing in your garden, whether it's in the ground, whether it's in raised beds, whether it's in containers. We're getting ready. It's almost time. It's almost time, guys. Happy gardening, everybody.